Well, welcome back everyone. Welcome back to plot 1 and how to create a wildlife pond. I'm going to try Joel Ashton's method, which is fleece, liner, fleece, then subsoil, and you plant directly into the subsoil, and that eliminates the need for baskets and allows pond plants to grow naturally. The reason I'm using subsoil, of course, is because there's not many nutrients in it, so that should hopefully cut out any algae. I think I'm going to put a layer of cardboard down underneath the first layer of fleece. Wet cardboard. I've taken off all the plastic, no sellotape or any plastics on it, and I'm going to line it first before I put the fleece down. That cardboard has been outside in all weathers for a couple of months. I've also given it a good wet through now and removed any packaging tape. So it's nice, soft, pliable, and it's just going to help protect the liner a bit more of any sort of little stones and whatnot. So the next job is to get the first layer of fleece down. Well, that's the first layer of fleece in. It's very thin. I expected something more industrial, to be honest, but I had to cut it in half. It was one long 20-metre piece, and it did say on the label 2 times 10 metres. So I'm wondering whether I should have put 2 layers on. I've got more left over, but I think as I put the cardboard down, that is going to definitely protect the fleece from getting punctured and ultimately the liner from being punctured. So let me try and get the liner in now. Well, that wasn't easy. And I think I probably got it inside out, but to be honest, I don't think it matters. And there's way too much. I've probably laid it sideways, but there's still plenty on there. So what I'm going to do next is put another layer of fleece in there, believe it or not. Okay, that's the second layer of fleece on. In that well, I'm going to empty out a couple of bags of sand. Right, so that's a couple of bags of builder sand. Ideally, I would have put all subsoil in the bottom of there, but I just have not got enough. So I'm saving the subsoil for that top ledge all the way around there. So on that bed of sand, I'm going to start building a well from large stones that I've got. I'm going to build a well in the middle, circle, and then layer the next one slightly wider. That will act as a kind of retaining wall, so all the soil and the pebbles that I'm going to put around here don't fall into the middle. wasn't easy. There's 6 stones in the middle there, very heavy. The next job I'm going to do is to backfill behind these stones and in between with some gravel that I've got, and get ready for the next layer of stones, which will be placed here just behind this level, forming a ring round here. Right, I'm going to get some old bags of potting grit and horticulturals, this, that and the other. I know it probably seems a bit weird, but I'm just using whatever I can to backfill under there. So I've built the first layer of the wall. On top of that layer of sand here, I'm going to put the next bunch of rocks, try and form a wall just round behind that circle there. I've got a second layer or circle of stones above the first circle, and the bit in the middle is still 90 centimetres deep from the top, and frogs and toads and other little things will go right down to the bottom there when it's full with water. So there's lots of places for them to hide in there, and I've now got to kind of support the gap around here, and I'm going to use pea shingle for that. And then after that, it's going to be all the stones and pebbles that I found on my plot before we get to the subsoil. So let me get some pea shingle in, and I'll bring you back. Well, there we go. That's a very thin layer of shingle to stop the sand from floating around. 2 layers of rocks. Behind here there's quite a lot of space to fill in, and I'm going to fill that in with the stones and pebbles that I found on the plot, which are a great big pile behind me. So here's the massive pile of stones and pebbles that I found across the plot, and that's what I'm going to use to create a layer of stones and pebbles behind those big rocks that I've just put in. It's the next day. We've had some rain overnight. There's some rain in the bottom there. It's a bit cloudy because I've been walking on the shingle this morning, but that'll soon settle down and become clear. So the next job is to trim off some of this excess liner, which we don't need. It's just in the way. I'll do a rough trim, not a tight trim, but a very wide trim to get rid of the excess. Right, that's that trimmed off. That's looking better. I'm not going to do a final trim until the water's almost to the top, to be honest with you. Could be a couple of weeks, who knows. Right, next job is to put a couple of larger stones here and here to form the edges of a beach that's going to go into the pond. So I've placed a couple of larger stones there, and I'm going to, that's going to mark out where the beach goes between those 2 stones. And so this is going to be filled with lots of larger pebbles going down to the middle there. And I'm going to get the pebbles from over there, what I've been collecting all year. But let's see how many we've got. I've got to give them a brush off, so could be a while. I'll bring you back. I've gathered up lots of large cobblestones that I found on the plot here. These are going to form this front end of the beach here between the two larger stones, and the water will form puddles and pools in and around these cobbles for little insects and birds to drink and wash, etc. So, and the rest is going to be made up of the smaller pebbles going around the pond there. I don't know if I've got enough, but I'm going to start, and it's probably going to take me a couple of hours or so to even get anywhere near quite a lot of those pebbles brushed off and placed in this area. It's taken me about an hour to brush those pebbles off in that bucket and pile a few others up round it. What I'm going to do is continue to do this, and I'm going to lay them out here to start forming a beach, the ones that I've done. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to start to form a beach area around here with these stones underneath, because I'm not going to put I'm not going to use the subsoil in this area. It's too there's too much needed around the edges, so I'm going to use just pebbles in this area. This is the beach. So that's one bucket. Right, I've made kind of a border edging. So that's the beach from this end. So this is going to take a lot of pebbles, but I have still got quite a lot left. It's got to be at least 8-10 buckets loads that I'm going to use round the edge. So back next day, and not sure if you can see, but I've placed some concrete blocks in here because this is going to be filled over the top with pebbles, and that will create lots of nice little cavities as well. I'm not going to be planting in this area here, so it's basically filling up the space before I put these pebbles that I'm cleaning off today. Don't forget the well's going to be in the middle, so that'll be 3 foot deep to the top of the water level, and that should be plenty of depth to stop it freezing over. So I'm going to get on with adding a bucket full of pebbles at a time, same as I did yesterday. It's time consuming cleaning all the pebbles, but I'm just going to give it a go. I don't want any rich soil around the pebbles because that will just create algae problems. I've been lucky to get this pile of white granite pebbles from a good friend of ours, Tim. Thanks, Tim. And I'll be using those to go over the top of the beach area. Next day, next bucket. Must be about 9 buckets of pebbles at least that I've put in there. I'm almost out of pebbles. I've still got that pile of white granite pebbles there, and I'm going to put them on the beach area, some of it anyway. Maybe I'll use it also to back up this section here. Right, back next day. Now I'm going to move some from the beach and use the white pebbles for the beach. I've cleaned off half a bucket of those granite pebbles, and they're going to form the first part of the beach here, and hopefully it'll be just the right level for water pools to form. So I'll put some of that down there to form the rest of the beach, and then I'm going to use the rest of the pile that I've got to again form a ridge round there so that the subsoil doesn't slip into the middle. So that's formed a kind of a initial beach here, and then a ridge going down there to the bottom. Next I've got to clean the rest of those pebbles, and I'll use it to form a barrier around the ledge. So I've created a retaining wall all the way around this ledge of the pond here with the white pebbles and this beach area, and the retaining wall is going to hold in the subsoil around there. The subsoil is going to be about 3 inches deep, 75 centimetres, something like that, and so this retaining wall will stop it sliding into the middle of the pond. That's the subsoil put in, about 3 inches. That looks quite good to me. I'm quite pleased with that. That little retaining pebble wall is held up nicely. So the next job is to begin to fill up the pond with rainwater. I'm only using rainwater, and if you've seen a video of mine where I built a rainwater collection system on the plot to collect rainwater from the top of the compost bay, I've been filling up that expansion tank that I've got with rainwater. So let's go over and have a look at that. So that's the expansion tank. I'm just going to take the lid off and see how much water's in there. Well, would you believe that? That is basically a full tank of water, rainwater. Well, I'm very pleased about that, guys. So a full expansion tank full of water, rainwater. We've just got to get it from here to here. So we've got to get rainwater into that pond from that expansion tank over there. And I've got just the job, because if you remember rightly, I put on a tap at the bottom, and I've just got to connect a hose with a fitting. Unfortunately, the tap is right at the bottom. So I've just got to dig out a channel under here so I can get a hose in. I don't know if anyone is still here from way back when, over a year ago, when I started working on this plot, but I found a reel of hose pipe, which is that there in front of you, on the bank in the bushes and undercover. So I dug it out thinking I might use it. Well, now's the time. Let me see if I can get that connected up to the expansion tank onto that tap. Right, that's the hose pipe connected using a standard hose pipe connector onto that tap. I've run it through a ditch around here. There is a gradual slope, but I hope this is going to work. Down to here and into the pond. I think I'm going to have to make a slight adjustment because that's going uphill there. So let me make an adjustment and I'll bring you back. Okay. I've shortened the pipe so it's a straight run all the way into the bottom of that pond. Okay. I've got the tap 3/4 open. although it's getting a bit cloudy with the sand at the moment. That will settle eventually and hopefully be fine. Okay, that is filling up. All right, that is filling up with the rainwater from the expansion tank. I'm so glad I built that rainwater collection system on top of the compost bays. The expansion tank from the rainwater collection system is emptying out gradually into the pond area. You can see now the water's coming up around almost halfway up the white stone rim, and I'm going to leave that going overnight. And it's also beginning to rain. I hope we get some rain in the next few days because I think it will take quite a lot to fill up the rest of this. I'm not going to trim out the pond liner here because I may have to make some adjustments on one side or another depending on how the water shows me the levels. I'm not sure how long it's going to take before you see part 3 of making a wildlife pond from me. I've got to wait for this pond to fill up before I can do any planting. This subsoil's got to be wet through so I can easily plant in it, and the pond's got to fill up, obviously. So we'll leave it for now. That's the end of part 2 for making a wildlife pond on my allotment plot. Hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I'm quite pleased so far with the results. Fingers crossed. I'll bring you back in a few weeks for part 3. Cheers guys, thanks for watching.